What is up, everybody? Happy New Year. Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. Wildcard weekend is here. This is our NFL Wildcard player projections episode. And who better to be joined by than the most accurate ranker in the game, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, I know you're a bit under the weather, but hope you're feeling good enough to get through this pod and hope you're feeling better in general. How you doing?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was definitely like the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. This flu going around is no joke. Starting to feel better, but still rough. I noticed quite a few like NFL players this weekend were ruled out, even pulled in game with an illness. I wonder if it's the same thing, but yeah, it's nasty. Do not catch this thing, please.
All right, yeah, that's rough. Hope you're feeling better. We'll get through this pod. We got start with the quarterback. We'll go through all of our positions, guys we're high and low on, set some props. We'll start out with the quarterback position going into Super Wild Card. Sean, who you got in your top 5 at QB?
I got Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Sam Darnold.
I got Allen, Jackson, Daniels, Hurts, and I got Baker. Got Baker in there right now, but Sam Darnold, can't argue with him. And I know you're high on him this week, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm high on him. His ECR is QB6. I have him QB5. That's kind of what we're dealing with this week. But I'm high on Darnold just because he's coming off that disastrous performance on Sunday Night Football against the Lions. He must have gone like 0 for 15 inside the 10-yard line in that game. Which is good news for you. I knew you're on the under. That was fantastic for the under.
The minute I saw that total like above 55, I was like, it's automatic.
Yeah, I had a projector on 53. But yeah, that was a great hit. And part of that was just he was due for some regression inside the 10-yard line, but that was insane. They just couldn't get anything going.
Nothing.
So I think he's going to bounce back this week. Last week he was under pressure a ton against the Lions. I think this week, Ford Field was a legit playoff atmosphere. That was tough to hear. It's more of a neutral site here in LA. I'm wondering what the split's going to be, but yeah, this Vikings fan base travels well. We don't travel well here in LA, so it's probably going to be a 50-50 crowd. So, he'll have less crowd noise to deal with. And this Rams defense is legit. They're on, the rise. But this is the playoffs. Every single defense this weekend is pretty good. So, this is a good bounce back spot for him specifically. They're -1.5, but their pass rate should be higher. They've only trailed on 21% of snaps this season. So anytime they do get in a close game like this, where, it'll be closer or maybe they trail, they're going to be throwing more than expected. So I still have his pass rate higher than normal this week. And having said that, my passing yard projection for him is 35 yards higher than any other quarterback right now. I guess 30 yards higher. So that just goes to show that he's in a great spot this week. He always has that sneaky rushing upside. So I think he'll bounce back here with a solid bounce back game.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting time of year because I didn't expect the Lions to have that much success. You figured they would kind of pull something out of the hat, but it's interesting because I feel like Sean McVay wanted this matchup, right? Like he wanted to get the potential to face like the Lions or the Vikings, and then get that second indoor game. So this is a fascinating matchup with the Rams having won the first one. But yeah, Darnold perennially underrated this year. I think people are going to kind of use last game as ammo, but I just give Aaron Glenn and that Lions defense a lot of credit. That's the only thing we heard all week was the Lions defense. They have nothing, and it was a lot of it was game plan with them last night. So, all right, I am high on Russell Wilson. He's pretty much the bottom quarterback in ECR, but against this Ravens defense, I think it's going to be a situation where the Ravens are going to score. The Steelers defense is great, but this is the third matchup. I think Russell Wilson, George Pickens, finally going to start getting back on the same page. And I don't think you're going to see too much, Justin Fields coming in. Usually see that when they're ahead. He takes some rushing opportunities, but they're behind. So I think Russ, it might be inefficient, but I think he's going to have to connect on some deep balls and whatnot in this one. So I have him as my quarterback 10, and he's QB 12 in ECR. So look for Russ to get a little better, a
Yeah.
little hotter than he's been over these last few games because it's been ugly. All right. Let's see. What do we got? Quarterback prop looks like.
Low
No,
on.
wait. Low. Yeah, sorry. Low. Who are we low on this week at quarterback?
I'm low on Jordan Love against the Eagles. I mean, this is a brutal matchup. Plus, he's dealing with numbness in his throwing hand after falling on his elbow. That can't be good. So he's questionable. I'm guessing he'll suit up, but that's kind of a weird, funky injury. Plus, he just lost Christian Watson with the ACL tear. He was his main downfield threat. That's a pretty big loss there. And Romeo Doubs, he missed last game due to an illness. Who knows what he's dealing with? Hopefully, it's not what I have. But I'm telling you, if it's this flu, he's no lock to suit up this week. But hopefully, Doubs is fine. He can return here. But either way, this is just a brutal spot for Love, especially considering he doesn't have any rushing upside. So just it makes it even tougher to overcome, a brutal spot like this. So he's my QB 11 out of 12, barely ahead of Russell Wilson. But, the slightest tweak and Wilson could leapfrog him and he could be my lowest ranked QB this week. So a rare week where I'm really, really low on Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of been in that, low end QB1 discussion, but now he's only 12 quarterbacks.
There's only 12
quarterbacks,
different.
Yeah. I'm a little lower on Justin Herbert this week. I just think this is a tough matchup going against the Houston Texans. The one thing that this Texan team still has maintained, throughout the rocky offensive production is their defense. And so, Justin Herbert on the road in the playoffs going against a really good defense that did essentially get to rest a lot of guys for much of that game against the Titans. I think it's going to be a tough spot for Herbert. So they're guys like, Matthew Stafford. I think I'd rather have ahead of Herbert in this spot. But I also think the Chargers with Dobbins back going to be a little run heavier than they were when it was, just Gus Edwards and that crew. So a little lower on Herbert this week. All right. What do you got for the prop?
Yeah, so it's a unique week where like every QB has every prop available right now. Okay. So I'm going to have some fun here. I'm going to go with the most passing yards this weekend. So the number, I don't care who it's from.
Okay.
But over under 362.5 yards. Will any quarterback throw more than that?
Wild card weekend. I'm gonna go. Ooh, that's a good line. I feel like, I'm gonna go yes. Just feels like wild card
over?
weekend. Yeah, over. Okay. Just because, like you said, you're gonna see some quarterbacks in some spots where they've already been throwing, but they haven't been trailing as much. Now it's the playoffs, so I think and you have some just powerful offenses like if the Broncos get down early, Bo Nix is a candidate just in a comeback mode or something like that. Mm-hmm. You have a couple indoor games, so yeah, we'll go over. But that seems like a good line.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to float a number like that. Should see some fun markets this weekend, but I'd say I lean over here, but that's still a big number.
It is. I mean, there have been less drives per game this year than usual years. I think it's down like 10.7 per team per game. So there are some things working against it, but I just think when you combine all these quarterbacks, a lot of talented quarterbacks, and a lot of good downfield throwers. I mean, even the guys that we're low on, like Stroud, Love, like those guys can get it downfield. It's Russ. Yep. So yeah, I'm gonna go over. All right, running back top 5. Who you got?
Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Derrick Henry, Kyren Williams, Joe Mixon.
Ooh, I got Barkley, Henry, Jacobs, Kyren, and Bucky. I guess Bucky just a little lower because there's still some other guys in that backfield.
Yeah,
but certainly like that number 2 ranking. Who you high on?
Bucky Irving, baby.
Yeah.
He opens the week as my RB2 over Derrick Henry and Kyren Williams. It's still crazy to get there. I got him in the 3rd round, my dynasty rookie draft this year. I'm very excited about that. And Brian Thomas Jr. in the 1st round, of course. But Irving has just been a workhorse back the last 3 games of the season. Yeah. And last week, Rachaad White didn't see a single rushing attempt. He's kind of turning into Javonte Williams here. But more encouragingly, Bucky's routes run rate has gone up in 5 straight games. Ironically, that's what I thought he'd be his first season, like more of a pass catching back who will mix in on early downs. But he's blown that out of the water. So now he's seeing a bigger role in what I thought he'd be good in to start. So that's encouraging, and it's his routes run rate's up to 56%, which means he has even more room to grow in that department. So I think he's going to get even better if he becomes the main pass catching back. This is a great matchup as well. A lot of good defenses this weekend, but the Commanders are the worst in run defense in the playoffs. They rank 26 in DVOA against the run. So yeah, it's hard to really project Bucky ahead of Derrick Henry, but that's where I have him with this increase in receiving usage as well. So yeah, he's my RB2 to open the week.
Yeah, I mean, Henry could kind of be dealing with the same thing Bucky is because he's, Justice Hill probably coming back for this playoff. So I mean, they both have like a receiving back, so it's not that crazy. I'm high on Aaron Jones. I just think that I know Akers had the long run, and Jones was he way out of the locker room in that game to start the second half? There was some weird stuff going on. But
Discord was under the impression he was just taking a dump.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But either way, I mean, that whole Vikings offense was a dump against the Lions. So I think people are just a little bit lower on them now, kind of that preseason skepticism coming back around. But I do think you're going to see a heavy workload for Jones in this spot, going against a pretty average run defense in the Rams. So like this spot for Aaron Jones when you have like other guys like Dobbins and Robinson who not quite necessarily as good a bets for snaps and to have that complete workload. So yeah, like Aaron Jones, he's the ECR running back 9. I think he should be a little higher. Who are you low on?
I'm low on Brian Robinson Jr., the other running back in this game on the other side against the Buccaneers. This is just a tough spot for B-Rob specifically. First, it's, potential trailing game script for the Commanders. They're 3-point underdogs here. Austin Eckler just returned last week, so this sets up better for him if it does turn into a trailing pass-heavy game script. But Robinson, he runs inside of the 3rd highest rate among all running backs. And center Tyler Biotish missed last week with an ankle injury. That's massive, and he's questionable. So his status will be key. Robinson averages 4.5 yards per attempt when Biotish is active, just 3.4 yards an attempt when he's out. Again, because he runs inside. And that's where Vita Vea is going to be standing there this week. So this is just a tough spot for B-Rob. So he opens the week as my RB10. And again, there's only 12 teams playing this week, so that's a bit lower for him than normal for me.
Yeah, same for me. B-Rob, it all kind of started with that. It was like, who was mad? Portnoy when Rodriguez got the touchdown the other week.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of been the story all year. It's like the minute you think Robinson is kind of safe for a certain type of workload, you see Rodriguez mixing, you see McNichols, now Eckler is back. So yeah, there's just a lot of ways that Robinson could come up short versus expectations. So yeah, it's hard to trust him in this spot when there's 3, 4 other two, 3 other backs in that backfield that could see work. All right, let's see your running back prop. Let's go James Cook total touches 18.5 over under.
Oh wow, love it. You're higher on that than me. Yeah,
it's just hard guy to project. He's like,
well, the market, I don't want to say anything too soon. The market seems a little too low on this.
Yeah.
Right? Did you see his rush attempt prop?
I know I'm higher in the market, but I'm trying to give like a realistic, because this is what happens. It's like we project him based on his current numbers, and then he goes over and scores like multiple touchdowns. So I'm just trying to get like at least a decent touch count.
This is a rare week where we're actually like able to witness the opening numbers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go under.
Okay.
Your projection, but over the market.
Okay. Yeah. What did the market have? Like 13.5 carries?
12.5 rush attempts.
Yeah.
Which seems too low.
Yeah, no, it's such a hard guy to project too, because then it's like he's efficient um, with his
Oh yeah, for sure.
touches.
But he tends to see the most work in like competitive big
Yeah,
games.
exactly. Which
So
is
this would
yeah,
be it. Like this
yep.
isn't Ray Davis is mixing in,
No,
20% of the rush attempts. This is like James Cook sees as much work as he can possibly handle, right?
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I think he'll push for 20 touches in this game, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's the usage it's been up and down.
Yeah.
All right, wide receiver top 5 for wild card weekend. We got
Justin Jefferson, Puka Nakua, Mike Evans, Nico Collins, and AJ Brown.
yep, same exact order for me.
Pretty straightforward this week.
Yep, who you hiring?
I'm high on Cooper Cup, someone that I was low on the last time he stepped foot on the field, but he had that brutal 3-game stretch to close the season. Again, I had pointed that out the last time I was low on him, that a lot of that had to do with just Puka Nakua dominating usage the second half of the season. Puka had just a ridiculous 40% target rate over the last 7 games. It's kind of hard for anybody else to do anything with somebody dominating in that fashion. Puka's basically taken over the old Cooper Cup role, as you pointed out. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. But I do think Cup could have a mini bounce back here against the Vikings. They use zone at the 4th highest rate. Cup's seen about a half-yard jump in yards per route run against zone this year. The Vikings also blitz at the highest rate, and Cup has seen about a 1.5 yards jump in yards per route run against the blitz. So if there's any matchup where we could see Cup bounce back a bit, it would be this one. So he's my wide receiver 12. And long term, I think it is not good for him with Puka dominating targets. But again, I think this is a spot where we can maybe see him bounce back a bit here.
Yeah, because they've been going to more 2 tight end looks with now that they have Higbee back and everyone too. So that's he's not playing in those 3 wide sets as much. But you expect in a playoff game, they would have to use some 3 wide.
Yeah.
I'm high on Marvin Mims. I mean, he just keeps balling, and now he had a second straight game with 2 touchdown catches. He went 8 for 103 against the Bengals with 2 scores, and then 5 for 51 with 2 scores against the Chiefs. I just think they're going to have to continue to get him involved, to produce offense here. And this is a game where you're probably going to have to score, close to 30 points to knock off the Bills. I know their defense is good, but like Marvin Mims, he's getting more involved in the receiving game. Still could see he didn't get a carry last game for the first time in about 2 months, but could also see him involved in the backfield as well. So continue to be high on Mims here. Who are you low on?
I'm low on George Pickens this week against the Ravens. Obviously he's coming off that dreadful 1-catch, 0-yard game. He had multiple drops. He's too good not to bounce back this week, but this Ravens defense used to be a pass funnel one. Now it's a no funnel defense. It's just really good. Ever since they shifted, Kyle Hamilton to play more free safety in the second half of the season. But I think they're probably going to try to make sure Pickens won't beat them deep. So this is a tougher spot for him. So he's all the way down to like wide receiver 17, below Jalen McMillan, Quentin Johnson even. So this is just not a good spot for Pickens. Again, I agree with you that they'll probably have to throw more this week, but I think someone like Pat Freiermuth and maybe Jalen Warren will get going this week as opposed to Pickens. I think the Ravens will probably do everything they can to make sure Pickens, can't beat him here.
Yeah, he has to have a better game than last game, but it's been a struggle for weeks now. I am low on Amari Cooper. He's wide receiver 20. I just don't know what I'm going to get from Cooper here. We still really haven't seen them in a important game, like a truly important game like this. And the ones we have, Cooper's still been in that 50-60% snap range. So I know he got the day off. I think he popped up with an injury before that. So I don't know if they intended to rest him regardless or what, but still can't be sure that he's going to get back into the 80-90% route run range, especially when you still have Coleman, you still have Hollins, Shakir. So yeah, he's the second highest ranked receiver on the Bills, which I guess could be fair, but I just think wide receiver 20 is too high for a guy like that who we have no idea what the snap rate is going to be. Wait, what do we got? Yeah, prop. That's you.
Yep,
so
that's me. Yep. I'm going to go with the guy that I don't think I've seen a prop up yet because he is that tricky to project. But I think he's important. I'll get to why. But Deontay Johnson, where do you have his receiving yards this week? Because he finally made his Texans debut last week, ran a route on 53% of dropbacks. Saw a nice target rate too. So just curious your process behind this, but I'm going to set the line at 24.5.
Ooh, yeah. It's so, I mean, I think he has a chance to be in the top 3, right? But I don't know for sure because, I mean, you still have like Woods, Mechie, and Hutchinson who have been there all year, so it's tough. I don't know exactly where he's going to land in the pecking order. So yeah, it's about 2 catches, about right. I'm gonna go under. It's been Deontay's story all year.
Yeah,
and we don't.
Ryan's
was
saying that they want to continue to feed him more, get him more involved, and this was after last week. So that was encouraging. Mechie isn't. I don't know if Mechie's in the concussion protocol, but I think he's like dealing with a concussion, so he's iffy. But like if he does become like the number 2 receiver, like I'm showing a ton of value on Nico's under. I don't think I'd ever want to bet that, and like Schultz under. Yeah. But like if they have a legit number 2 receiver, like that's going to take away from like Nico and Schultz. Just really curious just how you're projecting him.
Yeah, right now, I mean, I still have him I still have all those guys kind of equal. Like I've bumped Johnson up a little bit to get to like equal with some of them, but realistically, I mean, we've been kind of number one, we've been looking at like all year with these traded guys where it's like we just expect them to come in and be in a certain spot and they're not, and Deontay especially. So it's like that was week 18 against a tanking Titans team, and he still kept like 2 balls for 12 yards, right?
Yeah,
he didn't. Yeah, so it's not like he was just like came in and just beasted. So yeah, it's been the story all year with him, just disappointed.
He is capable of that though.
But I mean, I mean, I'm just going off what I see. It seems more likely than not that he just disappoints again. But no, I feel you. Like it's going to be a tough projection. I think we'll have to look at the practice reports for more clarity and the beat reports of like, who's getting the snaps with the first and second team, because that is significant. Earlier in the year, I know they had, specific roles like Hutchinson was Nico's direct backup and, so on and so forth. But that could be all shifted now with just everyone hurt. So, but yeah, I think it's a pretty good line. It's about 2 catches, you're saying, right? Like 2 catches for 24.
Yeah, probably a little over 2 catches. Yeah.
Median, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Now I'm with you, but if I'm betting man, which I am, I'm going to go under. I think last year around this time I had I want to say a Hutchinson under like 6.5 or something that ended up hitting like in a Texan playoff game.
6.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, something like that. So my style with these guys.
Oh yeah, me too. I had what did I have like Dawson Knox under 9.5 or something.
I think it was like 9.5 or something. Yeah, might be a good bet again. Yeah,
betting from the studio, if you remember that. Like, it went up to like 12.5 or something. I was like, what the?
I think we had him under, and then like it was like I want to say like Irv Smith over or something like that, or maybe
Irv Smith under.
Oh, under. Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah, because I think you asked me what % chance do you have Irv Smith even getting a catch.
And right, you're like, not high.
20?
And I was like, yeah, right.
And then I was like, even if he gets a catch, there's a % chance it'll be under 5.5 yards. I remember that one. I think it was Irv Smith 5.5 yards, right?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the story with tight ends and running backs. It's like they can get their catches, but like a lot of times it's not going to be that full ADOT or full, average. So, all right, tight ends.
Speaking of tight ends,
we got top 5.
I got TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Pat Fryermuth, Zach Ertz, and Tucker Kraft.
Yep, I got Andrews, Hawkinson, Ertz, Kraft, Frymouth, but pretty same idea. Who you high on?
Pat Fryermuth, just someone that's really been trending up to close the season, ending on just back-to-back season highs. He had 7 catches for 60 yards and then 8 catches, 85 yards and a touchdown. Had that key drop to end the game, but still really good game from him. I look for him to keep rolling here despite the tougher matchup. The Ravens just allowed Jordan Akins to go for 6 catches, 60 yards and a touchdown. And like I said, they're probably more concerned about just preventing big plays from George Pickens, so they might be okay with Fryermuth, having a solid game here. But yeah, it's kind of a weird week for tight end. So yeah, he's in my top 3, so I'm high on Pat Fryermuth.
Yeah, I've been high on him most of this stretch run. He's been playing pretty well. So yeah, I like that. The only thing I'm concerned about is like, what if they're like, all right, we're gonna get like Kyle Hamilton on him like every play. That wouldn't be great.
Yeah.
But it is the playoffs. But yeah, no, I agree. I think he's been playing well, and Russell Wilson has been kind of looking toward the middle more and toward him more these last few weeks, and that's been working out. Now if they could just combine it with also getting Pickens going downfield, maybe it's more. They need to get more Mike Williams. That catch at the beginning of the game, was pretty sweet for Mike. Probably his best.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Just get him more involved, but for whatever reason, they don't.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. It's because like I feel like every week it's just different guys, so it's probably the same thing in practice where it's like, because remember a couple weeks ago against the Ravens, it was like Skoranek who looked the best. He was just catching balls left and right, and then he got hurt, and then So yeah, it's probably weird in that practice with the Steelers. They got all these tight ends.
Jalen Warren just kind of disappeared from the game plan last week. That was kind of weird.
That seems like a hot hand thing where Najee gets always gets the first crack at it because he's that physical runner. But then they didn't have Warren in on like spots where you would want him in, like that short yardage play where it was like 2nd and 1 because Fryermuth didn't duck out. He ducked out too soon, and then I think they mixed it on a quarterback sneak, and then on 4th and 1 it was Warren and just no fall forward, and they got stopped again. So yeah, it's been weird in Pittsburgh. I'm high on Tyler Higbee. I think he's interesting here for the Rams. He did play in that week 18 game, 5 for 46 and a touchdown. Now you get to go against the Minnesota Vikings, and that's a pretty good spot, I think, for tight ends. It's they've been giving up a high schedule adjusted target over expectation rate to the tight end position. They do drop back there. They have been dropping back even when they blitz more. So I do think this is a pretty interesting spot for Higbee here. Kind of forgotten man, but he should lead. I do expect him to lead that tight end room for the Rams. So high on him. Who are you low on this week?
Well, it's not too much benefit for being low on any given tight end this week. I saw that I was -3 ECR on Dallas Goedert, but not much to say there. So I was -1 on Zach Ertz. So I'll just say I think Zach Ertz might cool off a bit this week. And he's more interesting to talk about this week from a projection point of view. So I'm going to go with him. But he closed out the season with 2 massive games where he was chasing just millions of dollars in incentives, and he collected a bag. Let me tell you that. Like, he did really good for the incentive crowd the last 2 games. I'm sure he's still going to give 100% here, but still. He had a lot to play for those last 2 weeks. But Austin Eckler's return, I think, could potentially ding his target share a bit. And more importantly, the Buck secondary is what I'm looking for when it comes to his projection later in the week because, safety Antoine Winfield's questionable. Jordan Whitehead's recovering from that car accident. And his backup, Mike Edwards, left the game with cramps.
Yeah, I saw that.
He got cramps. He's still questionable, but I'm assuming he'll play. Cramps usually don't rule you out for a week, but I don't know what's going on.
It was an awkward injury though, so I mean, they're saying cramps, but I don't know if you saw that play, but I think he like had a chance at an interception or something, and then he just kind of pulled up lane like in a weird way, like he kind of like kneeled down as he was running and fell backward. I don't know. It was uglier than cramps. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're saying it's cramps, but that didn't look like cramps. What do I know? And then Jamel Dean's questionable. Zion McCollum's just going to have to hold down the fort. But again, just based on the availability of these guys, if all three safeties are out, I'm going to move Zach Ertz up quite a bit.
Right.
If they're all back, I'm going to keep him here. So just a lot going on with Zach Ertz's projection this week. So I'm not saying I'm like low on him. But right now I have Pat Frymuth slightly ahead of him. But I just think Zach Ertz is one of the more fascinating tight ends to project right now with all these moving pieces.
Yeah, I still have him third. I think he's a major part of this passing game, and I know he's chasing incentives, but he's also a good target for Daniels, and that's at a time when like McLaurin had a couple of those down games, like a couple of weeks ago. Did he have like one catch? So I think the veteran tight end in the playoffs, I think Zach Ertz will be okay, but I understand where you're coming from. Too.
Yeah,
like it's up in the air. I think Goddard is a good case to be low on too, because the thing about Goddard is like that. The reads for that Philly offense are Brown, Smith, and then in some order, and then you still want to get Barkley the ball in the pass game probably a little bit. Dotson's usually a non-factor, but how much do they throw, right? And because Goddard's at best the number 3 option. So now that it's playoff time, they've had time off. They're going to try to come out and run the ball. Green Bay likes to run the ball, so that could be one of those games with a quick clock. So I could see being low on Goddard too.
Yeah, like he's interesting projection as well for other players because Hurts just looks for Brown or Smith, but when Goddard was playing, like he would look for him too. It was more of a Calcaterra problem than anything. So Goddard's return, I'm actually showing a shit ton of value on AJ Brown's under. I don't know what you're projecting for him, but his prop is like 85.5. But when you're projecting, like
usually for AJ Brown, what happens is I project him, and then it's like, okay, got to remember to raise his routes run to 100% because he's not coming out. And it's like and by the end of the week, I'm like in line with the market. But like, every week his prop opens so fucking high.
And I'm not saying I'm gonna take his under or anything, but like by having Goddard back in the lineup, and I'm projecting him back to his typical like 70% routes run. I lowered his target share than what it typically is, and I'm still showing AJ Brown. I'm wondering if I just fade Devontae Smith, but that never goes well. But It's just interesting because Calcaterra was the one that, like, Hurts would never look his way, but Goddard does get a pretty good target share when he is in there. So it's just really tricky projecting these pass catchers. I think I'm going to just not fade anybody and see how.
There were a couple games where like when Goddard was healthiest, coincided with either a Brown or a Smith injury or both. So there's some big games in there where I usually go in kind of like game by game and adjust the target share to reflect, like the spots where all three of them were in there. Usually lowers them a little bit, but I know what you mean. Like he had that massive performance. What was it, against New Orleans? I think where he had they had that great pick by, I think it was Dotson. He went like 60 or 80 yards on that last drive or second last drive.
Yeah.
So. He's a tough projection, but I do think that him playing in week 18 is probably a negative, all things considered, and just the fact that Philly is so top heavy. I wouldn't mind being low on him.
Yeah, and if Jair was maybe healthy, I might like take a swing at it. But it's too risky to ever fade those receivers.
Yeah, I think the biggest story, and this might be a game where we're just on the unders for everyone because, like I said, both of these teams like to run. Yeah. They've been extremely run heavy. That's good. That would just run clock, and I gotta look at their their plays for and against. But I'm guessing it would just be a game where it lowers like the potential projected plays on both offenses. That's something to watch for. I'm on Will Disley. This is our boy, but I know, right? He's a tight end 7 in ECR. I just feel like that's a little high when, he is in this 4-way committee. He did lead it for the second week back in a row, so he's still going to be the leader. But just kind of a guy where I don't know exactly where he's going to land in the routes run. I don't know exactly what the game plan is going to be between. They usually like to have somebody pass protecting. Is it going to be Dobbins because he's been good at it? Is it going to be Disley chipping? Houston does have, some guys off the edge that could get pressure. And Houston has been one of the better teams against tight ends, number 7 in DVOA. So, just kind of, I still probably full season, it's first week of the wild card, a guy like a Kincaid, I'd probably still trust a little more just because, they're all kind of close in routes run, but I really don't know which Will Disley I'm getting here, or which, how involved he'll be. So I think 7's a little rich for him, but yeah, I'm with you on the Goddard as well. Let's see, prop Isaiah Likely over under 29.5 receiving yards.
I knew you'd said it there. That's what I was thinking. That's a good line. I'll say just his median's probably lower. And didn't they both had a really good game against the Steelers last game a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Deshaun Elliott was out and Minka Fitzpatrick was playing out of position. There was a lot of miscommunication in that game. Elliott returned a couple games ago, so I think they're going to be better equipped to handle the dual threat of Andrews and Likely. So I'm going to lean under here, but that's a very good line.
All right. Yeah, he's tough because he's usually better when they're trailing, and this is the playoffs, but they've been just blowing teams out. This is the third matchup, so yeah, just a lot of things going on. But he's always a tough projection. Yeah. And then he's kind of filling in as like the de facto slot receiver with Aguilar out too, which Aguilar could be back. So yeah, it's
I guess this depends if Zay Flowers is going to play or not, right? I mean,
that's the big one.
Like 50-50. He didn't practice today. That's not good. But yeah, he seems 50-50. They said he's day-to-day, but do we even know what his injury is?
A sprain, that's what they're calling it? Yeah. So I mean, that sounds, I would think he plays, but you're right. He could be under 100%, which is just complicating the projection. But yeah, I think Likely's kind of in that 30-yard range as a median. But yeah, if Flowers out, I'd probably go a little higher, but I respect the under. I think it's just a volatile thing with Andrews playing so well too. It's not like he's gonna take Andrews snaps in the playoffs. I wouldn't think.
No way. Yeah. God, what a roller coaster season for Andrews though.
Yeah, I know, right? Like it was like he's dead and then he just catches a touchdown every year. All right. That's gonna do it for our Wild Card Weekend player projections episode. We'll have our touchdown show, our DFS/touchdown show coming to you live on Thursday. So look out for that one. And you can find Sean on X at @the_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app, fantasylabs.com for all of our fantasy football content, DFS tools, and models. Until next time, let's get this money.